Say welcome to the Math Academy. Hi guys, so I got this paper early. Okay, hopefully by the time I release this, it's still before the official release, so you can have a glimpse into what's happening back in the October-November exam session. So what we are doing today is the paper 2, okay, from the recent October-November sittings. Okay, this one is paper 22, okay, the variant 2 of the paper. So let's look through what we have here and then let's start. So like all the paper 2 from last year onwards, you're not allowed to use calculator at all. So let's just do it with what we have here. Okay, question 1. The temperature at 4 a.m. is -12 Celsius. Temperature at 4 is 21 Celsius. What's the increase in temperature? So this one is just 33 Celsius. So students might ask, why is it 33 specifically? Okay, so the general idea to understand negative number is that you can just draw a line like this. Okay, and then you calculate the gaps different. So between 0 to -12 Celsius is 12 degree, and then from here it's just 21. So just add those two up, you will get to 33, or alternatively will be by taking the bigger one minus the smaller one. So this is the textbook method here where negative becomes plus. So in short, the total Celsius here, or difference in temperature, is 33. Find all the common factor of 8 and 12. Okay, that's interesting. So 8 is actually 1 times 8, 2 times 4, 12 is actually 1 times 12, 3 times 4, 2 times 6. So in terms of common factor, we have 2 that repeated among both of them, we have 4 that repeated, and we have 1. So since they mention all, you have to list it down 1, 2, and 4 as your final answer. The next one is testing us on whether we know how to multiply decimals with whole number. We have 6 times 5 times 2.5 to get to the answer. Okay, 6 times 5 is 30, times 2.5 will just be something like 75. Just in case those who couldn't do mental math, this is the workings that you can carry it out. Please learn to ignore the dots. Okay, just treat it as 25 and proceed with your calculation. 5 times 0 is still 0. 5 times 3 is 15. Skip one step. 2 times 0 is nothing. 2 times 3 is 6. So once you add everything up, then only you take into consideration regarding the decimals earlier. So because there's only one dot here, you only have to shift it once, which you will get 75 as your answer. So vice versa, if there is questions like 2.1 times 1.2, something like that, you just carry out the calculation as per usual. Okay, once you add everything up, then only you look to the amount of dots. So this one has 1 dot, this one has 1 dot. In total, you actually have to shift it twice, making the answer 2.52. So hopefully this additional example here will actually help you to refresh how to do your decimals manually. Okay. Lastly, in question 4 in page 1, a computer costs 560. The cost is reduced by 20%, and then find the sales. Okay, so for questions like this, you have two options. Either you work out how much was the sales first, or you can just take it and multiply by 80. So you might wonder how I get 80. 80 was derived from 100% minus 20%. this 80% that you have here is the cost, okay, after the sales. So just calculate it out. 560 times 20 over 100. How I normally do it is by crossing off the zeros between the top and bottom first, and then you can cross them off diagonally between the 0 and this. So from the calculation, you will get 112, I think. So 560 minus 112 will be your answer here, which is 448. So on the other hand, if you were to calculate it using this so-called shortcut method, same thing was carried out. First thing, the zeros were gone. Then the zeros on the diagonal end is just 56 times 8, which turns out to be the same thing, which is 448. So this is the full solution for the question. So in question 4, you just choose whichever ones that suit you the best, then you can just proceed with your calculation. Okay, so some students also suggest that they can use decimal. Yes, you can. If you know 20% means 0.2, okay, and your 560 can also immediately multiply by 0.8. The 0.8 basically represents the 80% earlier. So it's totally up to you. There's no right or wrong on which strategy that you take to solve the question. Okay, in question 2, work out the numbers of students that walk to school. So they did included a 90-degree or right angle sign there. So this tells us that out of the 600, there's 90 of them over the total of 360, okay, for us to run the calculation. So first thing that I would do, I think I'll be taking the zeros off. Okay, 36 and 600 seems to be divisible by 6. Okay, after the division, I got 100 left for the numerator. The denominator is 1. As for the other side, I only have 6. So with this, you can simplify it further between 9 and 6. Okay, it becomes 3 and 2. So the 2 again, because it's located on the diagonal end, they can then be further simplified once more, making it 1 and 50. 50 times 3, 150 will be your answer for this second question here. So in part B, what we have now is 120 students travel to school by car and the remaining traveled by bus. So the 120 that you have there might needs to be calculated. Okay, so just take 120 over 600 times 360. If you're wondering why 360, is because the 360 represents the full circle. So the calculation should get us crossing out the zeros again, crossing out the zeros, and then the 6 and 36 can be simplified, which it will shows you 72 degree. Okay, so 72 degree. Okay, we sort of have a trouble here. I remember I have a just as I was saying, so just drag it over, place it right at the zeros. Okay, and then depends on which direction that you're looking at. Since I'm using the outer ring, which is the 0 here, the 72 degrees should be located somewhere around this part here, looking at the outer ring. So make sure you just join a line connecting from the center to this, then should be good to go. Okay, so that's it for our 72 degree. Okay, and then make sure you label that this is for students that travel by car. Okay, which means the rest should be travel by bus. Okay, but they didn't ask us to mention the degree. So just mention that it was bus. Okay, out of curiosity, I'm gonna try to measure that. Let's flip this around and see. Okay, I decided to use this line for my reference. So it was approximately 130 something. Seems like around 137. Okay, plus minus lah, because this one is a scan copy. I don't expect it to be super accurate or whatnot. All right, so that's it for that question. And then we may now move on to the next one. So in question 6, what we have here is, okay, testing us regarding corresponding angles. First thing first, angle ABC. Where is angle ABC located at? It's actually here. I know one thing for sure, which is this part, because of it being parallel. Okay, it's safe to say that this U shape that it formed will be 100. Okay, the logic behind is because if you were to extend the line, okay, you should know that the 80 that we have here can be transferred to this side. So it will form a straight line that will explain why there's 100 degree there. And with that, to find your ABC wasn't that tough anymore. It's just, if not mistaken, 105. Okay, because on the opposite end, it should be another 180. Okay, so you can manually secure that by having 360 minus 75 minus 100 minus 80. Then you should get 105. So followed by AED. Okay, AED, the values again will be 80 degree. Okay, because it formed another straight line here, if you can see. Okay, so from 80 degree, it's a triangle now. So 80 degrees is it for the answer, followed by DAB now. DAB is the thing that spread across this entire region. So your top priority will be finding this angle A first. Okay, so to find angle A, you must take note that it is an isosceles triangle, and the total interior angle of a triangle is only 180. So when 180 minus 80 and 100 divided by 2, it should be 50 on each side, which you add it up, in total it will be 125. Okay, so that should be our answer for DAB. So just in case you don't know how I secured the 50, okay, it is by having 180 minus 80 divided by 2, okay, and then your DAB will be the total of 50 plus 75. Moving on to the last part in question 7. Okay, they asked us to draw an in-between region spreading across 3 to -4. Okay, because of them having the equal symbol that was shown here for the number 3, the circle that represents that will be a solid circle. Meanwhile, the -4 will be the hollow ones, and all you need to do is to join them up to form a straight line. So that should be the answer for this question. Okay, so this is for question 7. Moving on to question 8. Cami buys a pea pen that each costs 40 cents. She then paid with $20. Write an expression in cents. So they're very nice here, bolding up the term cent. Okay, just as a reminder to you that this 20 that you have here needs to multiply by 100. So it should be 2000 cents actually. Okay, so from the 2000 cent that you have to adjust further. Okay, they told us to find the change. So it will be 2000 minus 40p because we don't know exactly how many pen that Kemi bought. Okay, so just show them that the total price for the pen will be 40 times p, and this will be the algebra expression that they are expecting from you. Next one, in question 9, Rajit has a full bottle of juice. One third of the full bottle on Monday, 3/7 of the full bottle on Tuesday, find the bottle. Okay, so they want you to find the fraction remaining. So you must take note that 1 is the total, minus of 1/3, minus of 3/7. So personally, uh, you can just solve them one by one first. Okay, in this case, I will sort out the first two, making the 1 into 3 and 3, minus of 1/3 minus 3/7. Okay, I'm writing it as detailed as possible, but in exam, do take note that it's not necessarily for you to do this. Okay, so multiply it accordingly with the numbers to make their denominator the same. So 7 times 3 is 21. You got 14 minus 9, which the answer turns out to be 5/21 as your final answer for question 9. Next, rounding each value into one significant figure. So this is the trick here. Okay, please do not go and multiply all the decimals together. So in exam, make sure you read everything carefully first before you proceed with your calculation. So each of it, I need to round them up before I can start calculating. So the D that we have after the rounding to one significant figures will becomes a 3, while the M after rounding to one significant figures, it will be rounded up into 8. Followed by using the M again, which is 8. Then lastly, sum it up with the 10.16. So it will still be a 10. Please take note that some students will just write it as 1. That will be wrong. Okay, do not make this kind of mistake here. So 8 times 3, and then multiply it accordingly. You have something like 160. In total, it will be 184. Okay, so making M as the subject, slightly tricky than I expected. Okay, so because there's 2M there, I'll actually write the counterparts with M at the front. Okay, basically did a switcheroo in the same equation. I then extracted out the M, okay, before making the M as the subject by sending off the entire brackets that we have there to the back, which form a division. Okay, so this right here will be the answer for question 10b. Moving on to questions 11, explain why. Okay, it is mathematically similar. Okay, so the two triangles that they are referring here is our PST versus our PQR. Okay, one thing that they both share in common, which is I will mention the angle P is the common angle. Okay, shared between the two triangles. Okay, other than that, other supporting statement that I can give them will be this: because of the parallel line, you should know that these two will be correspond to each other. Same goes to the other two on the other end. So you can then mention again ST parallel to QR, okay, making that angle PST is equals to angle PQR, and also angle PTS equals to angle PRQ, as they are both. So this will be the answer for our question here. So the triangle that I drew earlier comes in handy now because they actually wanted us to complete the calculation. So I'll be bringing it down before filling it up with results. So the QR that we have is 9. Then they mentioned about PS being a 5, wanting us to find this particular side. So different teacher has different way of teaching. Personally, I wouldn't mix it up. Okay, I would use the slanted part over the bottom. On the other end, it would be the slanted part again, which is our PQ, alongside with the bottom. So to make PQ as a subject, just remove the 9, then it is done. So 9 times 5 over 3, 9 and 3 can be simplified. So PQ in this case will just turns out to be 15. Okay. Next, they say the area of a triangle PST is 2k centimeter square. Find the area of the quadrilateral. So I need to find the bigger triangle first before proceeding with the area calculation. So one thing for sure is that I know ST times the scale factor will becomes QR. Okay, so when you fill in the information, okay, you'll be able to secure that 9 over 3, and it will just be 3 for the scale factor among the triangles. So the same concept can be used here when you're trying to trace the area. So area of PST times SF. This time around, the scale factor will be squared, okay, because of the unit that we are comparing. We're comparing area now. So we will get area of PQR first. So area of PST is around 2k. With our 3 square in place, we'll be able to trace the area of the bigger triangle. So here we get 18k. And since they wanted the quadrilateral, okay, just take your 18k minus the 2k earlier. The answer should turn out to be 16k. Okay, so the method that I'm using here is the scale factor method. Okay, I find it easier, okay, to apply in this sort of situation. So looking back to your mathematically similar chapter, there's actually 2 different methods that you need to learn. Okay, so if you really don't understand what I'm explaining, I actually did a video back then that might still be helpful. Okay, I will try to redo the video again in the near future. Okay, and I'll attach a link here so that you can have a look. Okay, so moving on to question 12. Okay, we have fitness club member, okay, of 100, 60 of them swim, 70 of them cycle, 25 of them do not do any of it. So this is a giveaway to us that 25 will definitely be out of the picture. Okay, and then to find the overlapping part, I'll be putting down 60 minus x and 70 minus x. Okay, so okay, the x is the part where the people did both of the sport. Okay, so this is how we normally do it. To find the answer for x, just take 100 minus 25. Okay, and then you will get to things at the middle, add them all up. 60 minus x plus 70 minus x. 75 equals to, how much is this? Ding dong, ding dong. 130 minus x. X as the subject. I bring it to the front. 130 minus 75, which is 55. So this tells us that the middle part, okay, is 55. So you can then proceed to remove this and write down your 55 as your answer. 60 minus 55 will be 5. 70 minus 55 will be 15, and this right here will be your full answer. Moving on to PC, okay, probability of people that was chosen actually cycle. So for those who cycle, it's actually 70 over 100, okay, or in this case it's 7 over 10. They do accept you writing it as 0.7. That's totally up to you. As for the part where it's the overlapping section, it will be 55 over 100. Okay, up to you whether you want to simplify or not. If you didn't, it would just be 0.55. If you did, it should be 11 over 20, okay, because both can be divided by 5. And the last part is a little bit tricky, okay, and I think shading it out for you will actually help you to understand which region are they actually expecting you to include for your answer. This is the P, this is the C. Okay, so they first mentioned that S, oh, sorry, it's not P. What am I doing? This should be S, this should be C. They wanted the entire S, including everything that was other than C. So because of them using the union symbol, it means that whatever part that I shaded will be considered as the answer. So this basically tells us that we only have to exclude 15 people from the calculation. So 100 minus 15 over 100 is what they expect from us. So it can be 0.85, or when you divide them both by 5, you should get something like 17. Okay, so the answer can be 17 over 20 or 0.85, or the other will be 11 over 20 or 0.55. So this is all the things that you need to know for question 12. Moving on to question 13. Okay, I think we're halfway through already. Okay, in question 13, they want us to find product of its prime factor. Okay, so they already gave us the M. Okay, M has been sorted out, so all you need to do is to work out your 14 here. 14 is basically 7 times 2. Okay, and when you have 14M, what it means is 7 times 2 times whatever that they have here in place to represent the M. Okay, so only the two can be added together since they share the same base. So in total, I have 2, 8, 3, 3, 5, 2, and a 7. Okay, so this should be the answer that you're including here. Next part is a little bit tricky, and it's not the first time they ask questions like this. Okay, you really have to sit down, stay calm to solve this kind of question. So R is an integer, M over R is a cube number. Find the smallest possible R, okay, that you can think of. So 2, 7, 3, 3, and 5, 2. Because of them saying that it's a cube number, okay, it means that the answer that it generated must be a cube. And then they mention smallest possible. Okay, means I cannot remove too much from it. Okay, so this tells us that I need to completely remove the 5 square. I will leave the 3 cube alone, because if I also include 3 cube at the denominator, it will make my R a little bit too big. Okay, but then the 2, 7 that I have there, to make it into a cube number, I think I just have to remove one of the 2. Okay, so this 7 and I put a 2 here. Okay, it will get you a result of 2, 6, 3 cube, and this is the so-called cube numbers that they are referring to. So the R, the smallest possible R will be 5, 2 and 5 square only. So students might ask, why you leave it as 6, not 3 over here? Okay, 2 reasons. Firstly, they wanted smallest. That's the main reason why I didn't remove or assign the R as 2 to the power 4. Okay, another one is cube number wasn't limited to having power of 3 only. Okay, any multiples of 3 is also considered as cube number. So that's something for you to keep in mind Okay, so the tricky thing here is the term smallest, so you need to be careful on that. If they mention largest, so it could go the other way around. Then the R that I have here will now actually be 3 cube, 5 square, and 2 4. Okay, so this will be the R if they wanted largest instead and still fulfill the condition of having a cube number at the end. Okay, so that's pretty much it for question 13b. So I think it's really a good question where actually put you through the thinking. All right, question 14, some basic indices here, testing you regarding the division. Divide basically means minus in terms of the power. So just 2 plus 2 will get you 3 to the power of 4. And for question B, to sort it out, I highly recommend you updating the 16 first. 16 is 2 to the power of 4. Okay, and then you multiply it out. Do not rush. Okay, 4 times negative 3 over 2 first. Okay, we adjust it step by step. Okay, we have ample of time. That makes us having a 2 to the power of negative 6. The negative basically tells us that our current number belongs at the wrong place. Please adjust it further. Okay, and you already know 2, 4 is 16. 16 times another 4. Okay, that will get us 64 as our final answer. So a lot of it comes back to your basic, whether you actually make effort to memorize your cube number, your squared number, all those will come in handy when it comes to your exam preparation. So a lot of the things they wouldn't mention in the textbook because they expect you to learn it already over the years of doing the same thing over and over. Okay, so question 15a is also one of the very popular basic question where 64 is actually 8 square, I think. So with that, it's just x minus 4, 8x minus 8, and x plus 8. Okay. So as you continue to the next part, things that you should take note is that you could have treated this like a z or whatever. Okay, just imagine it was 5xz plus 6z squared. You wouldn't have panicked and you would just take out the z without any uh consideration. It will just look something like this. So they expect you to carry out the same thing when it comes to this question. So the x minus 2y is what they expect you to take out, leaving the 5x plus 6 with x minus 2y inside. Okay, so it's not done yet. You actually need to make some effort to expand the brackets at the back. So you got 6x minus 12y. Work that out, you got x minus 2y and 11x minus 12y as your final answer here for question 15. So moving on to the next one, we have actually have to do some thinking. They said AB and BD are two-sided of a regular 15-sided polygon, and then BC is an n side. Okay, so because of them mentioning 15-sided polygon, you can then take 15 minus 2 times 180 and then divide it by 15. So 15 minus 2 is like 13, I think. 156 degree. So from 156 plus 14, you already know that it is a total of 170, which means its exterior angle here will just be a 10. So with the exterior angle formula, 360 over n equals to 10. 10n equals to 360, and will just be 36. So I use both of the formula here. One is interior angle, one is exterior angle. And I'm pretty sure that there is other ways to find it, but at first glance, this is what I thought of. 15 minus 2 times 180, work it out, you found out that ABD is 156. Combine it with the 14 that you have there to form 170. And then instead of using interior angle formula again, I decided to just use my exterior angle. Okay, so from there, I secured my answer. Okay, and it will be 36. Next, question 17. They said B is a point 3, -3, 1, and D is a point -5, 9. BD is the diagonal of the kite ABCD. The ratio of the length of the diagonal is BD and AC is 2 and 3. BD is 2, AC is 3. So this tells us that if we were to draw out a kite, this is how it's going to look like. So this so-called centered here is your B and D because they are shorter. And then this part here will be the A and the C. Sorry for drawing such an ugly triangle. Okay, it's not really proportionate, but you get the idea. So our BD turns out to be 2, and then they wanted us to find AC's length. Okay, so this tells us that BD is like the straight line lah, so you can just straight away calculate the length of it. So the length formula is, okay, I will normally use my gradient formula because I don't want to waste time and go memorize it again. So I'll be taking my y2 minus my y1 squared plus x2 minus my x1 being squared again. So you have 8 square plus so I get 68 for my BD's length. Okay, I will try to rationalize it first. I'll work out the certs. It will just be 4 and 17. 4 and 17 means 2 and 17 because the 4 can be turned into 2 square. So from that on to find my AC, just multiply. It will just be 3 over 17 as your final answer for part A. So I did some cross multiplication there. Find the coordinates of the midpoint of BD. So this one is still fine. Just adding it up, divide it by 2. Adding it up, divided by 2. The answer should be -4 and 5, I think. Okay, as our midpoint. So last part, the diagonal AC passed through the midpoint of BD, and then they want us to work out the equation. Okay, that's very interesting. So you must take note, which is the relationship of a diagonal in the kite. It's perpendicular. So they cross to each other means the gradient will be tested here. So I will find my MBD first. That is by having these two minus each other, these two minus each other. So I got -4, and you must take note that MAC times MBD equals to -1. This is your M1 times M2 equals to -1. So your MAC at the end of the day will turns out to be -1 divided by -4. So 1/4 should be your AC's results. Okay, finish it up by having y equals to 1/4x plus c, sub in the midpoint. So you will get this. So your final answer is 1/4x plus 6 as your final results for question C. Moving on to question 18, rationalize. So this part here is quite important because they have been asking it over and over again. You must take note that you need to multiply with the pairing that doesn't have a square root in it. Okay, so funny solution that I've ever seen, okay, being done by my students are they just suggest that, oh, sure, why not just multiply a square root 6? Because multiplying it will help you to get rid of the square root 6 at the back. But they overlook the fact that if you did this, you accidentally created another square root 6 at the front, despite removing the 6 at the back. So this doesn't work, and the correct concept to do here is your a minus b, a plus b equals to a squared minus b squared, because this will help you to square both of the values that is located at the denominator. So that's what they were expecting from you. Okay, so remember you will get this. Do not rush to expand, because sometimes all you need was just to simplify it straight away. So just cut it off. You got 2. So 2, 4 minus square root 16 is square root 6 is actually the answer that they were expecting from you. Up to you whether you want to expand or not, but I will just leave it as this lah. I won't be multiplying the 2 in. Okay. Next part, they want us to show that the rod does not fit completely. So questions like this is basically testing you on your Pythagoras theorem. Okay, the so-called stick that they want you to imagine here is basically like sticking through like this. Okay, so that's how we normally phrase it. But to find how much was the diagonal length, you will need the bottom, okay, which is this blue line that we have here. Okay, in a 2D shape manners, you should know that it's 5 and 5 is a right angle. So crossing it means you are finding the hypotenuse side of the thing. So 5 square plus 5 square equals to x square, let's say. So x square is actually 50, and to find x, you will get 5 square root 2 as your answer. So 5 square root 2 alone is not enough. You still have to further calculate it. Your 5 square root 2, okay, because now what triangle we're looking at is actually this one in red. So it is still a right angle triangle, but in this right angle triangle, we have 7, we have 5 square root 2 now, and they want us to trace this, which is the so-called part where the rod would fit. So your y square equals to 5 square root 2 square plus 7 square. You have to work it out. 25 times 2. You will get something like 99. So this is a reminder to us that y square is 99 and it will be square root 99. Okay, immediately you can justify that it will not fit for sure, because the rod itself is 10. So 10 square is 100. So you can mention that 10 square is more than 99. Okay, so because of that, we won't be able to fit the rod into the given cuboid. question 20. So how many more questions to go? We only have about 3 more pages. Okay, let's go. Next one is function, my favorite, but students' worst nightmare. Okay, because they don't really understand how function works. Okay, but for me, how I normally teach it is to, in class lah, I will force them to use highlighter to highlight the function. So this X here will be replacing into this part. So regardless of what it is, if it's a G and I say it's a potato, then at the back it will be 3 potato plus 4. Okay, if they say elephant, then you just put in elephant. So in this case, when they ask us to put 2, it just tells us that it is 3 times 2 plus 4. Okay, so for the next one, we call it composite function. Okay, for questions like this, if you are really weak in function, feel free to just split it up and work out your f negative 1 first. Because when you cut it into pieces, sometimes it will make the question easier. Okay, so our f negative 1 generated a negative 7 as the results. So you need to utilize this negative 7 into your function g. So you will get something like a negative 17 as your answer. Okay, so the next part, finding an inverse for f. For me, I will write down the original equation, but no longer writing the function. Okay, I'm gonna swap the x and the y. Okay, I'm just swapping their position. Okay, without affecting the values, and then just readjust and try to make your y as the subject. So the 2y minus 1 will then be transferred up here. Okay, and then 2y minus 1 continue to be the character, main character that we want. Plus 1 because I kicked the 1 to the back, and divide everything by 2. So this will be your final answer if you did it like what I did here. Okay, it's optional whether you want to make it as a single fraction or not. If you did make it into single fraction, you must take note that you will be multiplying an x to the group at the back. So that this part, okay, this will explain why these other answers that I wrote down here will also be accepted as your function inverse. Okay, but which one to write, I think is totally up to you. Okay, because both is correct anyway. Lastly, we have question B, where they ask us to make them equals to each other. So this one, highly likely they are testing you on your quadratic, because I saw that if I want to find my x, I will have to shift the 2x minus 1 that I have at the denominator to the other side. So complete your expansion. Okay, I'm not sure if you learn how to manually do your factorization, but just to have a quick explanation here, okay, 6x squared basically can be break down into 3x and 2x. The 25 at the back can be break down into 5 and 5. Okay, but it's not certain one. 25 can also be treated as 25 and 1. You need to play by ears and decide what combo to use. Okay, this is what I came up with at first, and then I decided to cross multiply them, leading to 15x and 10x. Lastly, if you realize I'm actually utilizing the quadratic that we have here, okay, the center part actually wanted us to fulfill it to be positive 5x. So this one must be positive, this one must be negative. Input the information, then you will get 3x minus 5 and 2x plus 5 as the answer here. Okay, so our x value, okay, will be these two results that earn us the total of 5 marks. Okay, it wasn't that hard. Okay, just that you must make sure you are capable of factorizing it manually. Okay. Next question, they ask us to draw out a cosine graph. Cosine graph you actually have to memorize. Okay, but the rule of thumb is try to find the center first. Okay, based on the scale given, and I will label the 1, cut through the 90, arrive at the bottom, coming back up, and arrive at the last point. Okay, the graph must be freehand. The curve must be somehow logical, as long as it's not too far off. Okay, everything should be fine. Okay, so this is how the graph would looks like if I were to draw it. And then question B is actually my favorite. Okay, this is something that they pass down from AdMaths. Okay, so for AdMaths students, this question here should be super duper straightforward. Okay, your first step is none other than making the trigger as the subject. Okay, because by you doing so, not giving up this question, you already secured 1 mark. Okay, so all you need to do now is to ask yourself, is this a positive or negative values? And for me, I always force my students to draw out the graph. Okay, because without this, you won't be able to do anything. Okay, so the cosine turns out to be negative. ASTC, A stands for everyone will be positive in that particular section. S stands for sine is positive. T stands for T is positive. C stands for C is positive. So for C to be negative, it must be located on the S and T region. So over here, they're actually testing you whether you remember how to, did you memorize the chart or not? But because of it being a negative, okay, you just have to take note that using this table here, it did appear before, but it's in positive format. So you must take note that you basically secured a negative 30. So negative 30, to make sense out of it, okay, it's just here. Okay, all the way from this region. Okay, the X, you cannot use it. Okay, just label down this part is 30 degree. So to find the answer, it would be 180 minus 30, which the first one is 150. And to find your second answer, okay, because of the parts that you're shading is next to each other, okay, it's safe to say that this is 30 degree as well. So all the way to this line, it will be 180 plus 30. That will be 210. That's why 150 degree and 210 degree is your answer here. So anything, just refer to the chart. Okay, and one little details that I did here was I told the examiner that it is negative 30. Okay, and I didn't put equal because I want to show them that it's not the answer. Okay, when I put equal, it's where the actual calculation start. Okay, so 150 and 210 is the answers that we have here. Okay, so whatever quadrant that you see, okay, just in case you need more explanation, it's actually representing 180 degree. Okay, it always starts from this particular line, regardless of anything. Okay, because for maths, it doesn't go in the other direction. So it's always like this. Here is all the way until 360. Okay, so negative means it's the small particular region. Okay, that's how I know. Okay, and you notice that I didn't put plus or minus here because it's not necessary. Okay, you just have to make your own justification. Does that looks like a 30 degree to you? If it doesn't, then just take 180 to minus. Okay, whatever point that you're using is actually either 0 or the 180 only. Okay. Question 22, they told us that it has a minimum point. So minimum point is actually a reminder to you that we are actually dealing with dy dx, I think. So if I were to find my dy dx of this question, I get 2x plus b. Okay, just in case you don't know how to differentiate, the differentiation process goes by you extracting out the power to the front Okay, and then the power will automatically be minus by 1. Okay, continue the same process. If there wasn't anything there, it would be 1 times b x1 minus 1. Then here is actually x to the power of 0. That's why when 0 times c is already completely gone. That's why you don't see me writing any c there. Okay, so this 2x plus b equals to 0. Okay, to find our turning point. Okay, so this negative b over 2 will be the negative 5 that they mentioned. Because both sides has negative, okay, it will cancel off and b will just be 10 based on this. So having b as a 10, you can now rewrite the equation telling them that you have now secured 10x plus c, so I can sub in negative 5 and 12. 12 equals to negative 5 squared plus 50. So work it out. So the answer will be 12 equals to negative 25 plus c. Shift it to the other side, c will be 37. Okay, so this is how you secure the b and c's calculation. Okay, alternatively, I think of using completing the square. Okay, if you wanted to, you can do completing the square. But I don't think it is actually any easier. So since we are here, might as well lah. Let me give it a try if we're using completing the square and see if it's actually easy or not. Okay, so I'm gonna erase this. Remember, the answer is still there, don't worry, you can just refer it back. Okay. If I decided to use completing the square, I'd be taking x plus b over 2. So I will get my b over 2 immediately equals to my ding dong, yeah, correct. And then my b is negative 10 in this case, which doesn't make sense. Yep, doesn't make sense. I think if you were to use completing the square, it will actually further complicate the situation. So if you ask me, I don't think I would do that. Yeah, because you cannot just suddenly justify that why is there suddenly a negative. I mean, I can think of it why, because I've secured everything using the differentiation method, but I just couldn't quite justify how to force you guys to understand why I need to include a negative there. Okay, so I don't recommend using completing the square, but I do think it's fine to use it if you are very good, okay, or you understand the fundamental completely. For a normal students, I want you to just do your differentiation. It will be a safer bet for this sort of question here. Okay, so moving on to the second last question. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, diagram shows a major sector AOB of a circle, sector 240, and a radius of 12. Show that the length of the major arc AB is 16 pi. So 240 over 360 times 2 times pi times 12. I got 30, 30 by this. Oh, 30 can simplify with the top. So I got like 8 times 2 times pi equals to 16 pi. Okay, done. Then they told us that OA is joined OB to form a cone. Okay, so this one is very common. Okay, they've been asking this for I don't know how long already. Okay, you must remember this is what they meant. Okay, AB is now joined together. Okay, you have the cone's length height as 12. Okay, and then what they want you to know here is to find the new R. So your new 2 pi R here is actually equivalent to 16 pi. So cut off the pi's, you get R as 8. So with the 8, you can refer back to your formula. Okay, actually form like a triangle here, where you have 8 as the radius, you have 12 as the slanted height. So you can find the H. H is how much would it be after minusing off? 80, I think. Then you have to do square root 80 on the side. Try to 20. Oh, okay. Okay. For 4 again. So basically it will be 4 squared times 5. So 4 can escape. 5 is still stuck inside. So from this equation, we can now find the volume of the cone. Volume of the cone is by having 1 over 3 pi r square h. So this one you can refer to the front because the formula has been attached. So simplify it further, you will get something like 3 at the bottom, pi here. 64 times 4. So it's 256 square root 5 pi. Okay, so A is an integer, which is 256, and then the B is the square root 5 lah. Okay, last question. All right. So 27 and 9 is a sign that is clearly related to 3. So I decided to adjust it into that first. So update it further. So that 3n must be equivalent to 4x because the base is the same already. X repeated, so x is gone. So n will just be 4 over 3 lah. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Overall, if you were to ask me the question that is actually tough, okay, or require a little bit of thinking, is actually your question. Let me flip through again. Question 11C. Okay, some students might not be able to solve that because they only memorize one way of solving mathematically similar. That's the first one. The other one will likely be 13B. That's also one of the questions that will block students from getting the world prize. And then lastly, the ones that might be a little bit confusing to some of you. Question 16, question 17, I don't think a lot of students will like it. Some students might also lose mark in question 22 and 21B. So overall, I would consider this paper 2 middle to the higher end tier type of paper. Okay, overall it's a good practice. It's not very hard, but a lot of it comes back to your fundamentals and concept. If those all this while you have been trying to memorize how to solve maths, then you are definitely the type of students that you find this paper tough. Okay, but hopefully this explanation video went through in-depth enough for you to prepare for your exam. So I will try to attach the PDF copy of this, my handwritten copy, and then you guys can just feel free to use it. Okay, you will get an empty copy of the files as well. So all the best for exam preparation. Okay, if anything you wanted to ask, feel free to hit me up. Okay, if I'll reply to you whenever I'm free. All right, bye guys, see you.